Hola, soy Stephanie. Te invito a que compres sus productos latinos aquí en Perla, abierto desde las 8:30 de la mañana los 7 días a la semana, aquí en Kensington Market.
Hi everybody, it's Anna speaking with you today. I'm glad to be with you. I am going to talk with you today about the Ontario budget that was just released on Tuesday, March 27th. Unfortunately, bad news about this budget. And it's one that I want to talk with you about some of the details in it that maybe aren't getting as much coverage as they should be. And also to encourage you to contact your MPP, your member of provincial parliament, particularly if that MPP is an NDP member. I think that we need to oppose this budget, and I'll talk a little bit about why. The budget as it's released is described as an austerity budget. It's described as a tough budget and one that requires everybody to make sacrifices. But when you read the budget and take a look at it, what we find is in fact that not everyone is being asked to make sacrifices at all. The most well-off Ontarians, corporations in Ontario, and wealthy individuals are not going to have to, and in fact not even wealthy individuals, many middle-class individuals are not going to have to make any sacrifice at all in this budget. But there are many, many people who will. 900,000 people in this province rely on OW or ODSP. Those are support payments for people on welfare or on disability. Those people, those 900,000 people, and remember that these are families, the families that the Liberals like to pretend that they're so much in support of. These 900,000 Ontarians are also members of families. Many of them are single as well. These folks are being asked to do more with less. Inflation in Ontario right now is running at, I think, between 2% and 3%. Electricity and hydro bills are costing people upwards of 9% more right now. But people who rely on government assistance for many different reasons, and we've got to remember that most of those, or many of those people are on disability. So we have a very inaccessible workplace. We have a lot of refusal to accommodate workers with disabilities. So many of those people can't work even though they want to. Many of those people are women who are single moms. We have no childcare system in this province to speak of. We have no promises to increase access to childcare or increase the affordability of childcare in this budget. So many of the women who are on welfare have no choice but to be on welfare because they cannot go to work. We also have no commitment to increase minimum wage in this budget or to address the fact that so many people are forced to work temporary jobs, contract jobs, precarious jobs. Nothing in the budget about that. So as a result, of course, we have lots of people who rely on government, rely on social assistance to be able to survive, and that's no joke. People are barely surviving on the welfare and ODSP rates that currently exist. This government not only is not doing anything to address the poverty of those individuals, they're in fact making it worse with this budget. This budget freezes welfare, freezes ODSP, and it delays the increase to the child benefit to the poorest families. This means that those people are in fact falling behind. And people on welfare and ODSP in this province are worse off now than they were under the Mike Harris government, even after those awful cuts that they made back in 1996 of 20%, 21%. So people on welfare and ODSP are being abandoned by the Liberals in this budget. And Dalton McGuinty is in fact just completing the work that Mike Harris began back in 1995. And any claims by the Liberals that they are looking out for people who are poor in this province have to be denounced as a lie. That is one reason why the other parties, and of course we don't expect the Conservatives to take a stand on poverty as they do everything they can to increase it, but we certainly can expect the NDP to take a stand on this. I want to let you know, and the Income Security Advocacy Centre has done a release on this, that it's not only welfare and ODSP rates that are being frozen in this budget. The government is also going to end some of the benefits that people on welfare and ODSP can access when they are making transitions in their lives or trying to move actually out of poverty into something better. The government is going to end the community startup and maintenance benefit. And that's a benefit that's available to households sometimes once in a while, sometimes on an ongoing basis for things like first and last month's rent deposits, buying or replacing furniture for when moving into a new place, or perhaps people have to get rid of their furniture due to bed bugs and things like that, deposits for utilities, overdue utility bills, and those kinds of things. These are the kinds of daily realities that people on welfare and ODSP live with and cannot afford. And these are the kinds of emergencies that often will stop someone in their tracks as they're making improvements in their lives to help them move themselves out of poverty. The government is effectively saying to poor people, not only are we not going to allow you to keep up with at the bare minimum, the cost of living or inflation. Not only are we not going to do that, in fact, we're going to penalize you and keep you stuck on welfare and ODSP by removing some of the benefits. There's an emergency home repairs benefit that's also available in extraordinary circumstances. The government is ending that. They're delaying the increase to child benefits, so in effect stealing money out of the mouths of children. They also are launching a huge attack on the right of public sector workers to collectively bargain their wages, their benefits, their pensions, etc. And what the government is doing is they are sowing resentment, they are sowing a kind of race to the bottom in our workforce. We've got people all over the radio and in the newspaper saying, hey, why should those public sector workers have a pension when I don't have one? Why should they get an increase when I'm not getting one in the private sector? And instead of trying to create some harmony, instead of our government taking a leadership role and saying, listen, when public sector workers do better, we all do better. When unions are able to negotiate fair contracts, that has impacts in the private sector as well and creates pressure there that benefits everyone. Hey, public sector workers are also taxpayers. They are also families. They are the people who put revenue into this province, and we need to thank them for the revenue they put into this province because they have bargained collectively for good wages and decent benefits. But no, our government does not say that. They paint public sector workers as the enemy. They paint them all as overpaid, entitled, getting more than they should, somehow at the expense of everybody else in the province. This is a lie, and this is a line of reasoning that we have to resist, folks. Whether we have a public sector job or not, we need to understand that many of the benefits we enjoy in our society did not come because governments wanted to give them, but because unions fought for them. And when unions fight for their members, they are also fighting to increase the benefits and the quality of life for everybody in this province. So that's number one thing that we have to let our MPPs know, that we know, and that we will not buy into this be jealous of your neighbor kind of stuff. The other thing is that the government has refused to look at ways that they could increase the revenues into the Ontario budget this year. They could increase the taxes on the wealthiest individuals, people making $100,000 as an individual and above, people making $250,000, $500,000, $1 million and above. These folks all pay essentially the same tax rate. And we could work with our tax system to ensure that the wealthiest individuals pay their fair share. They are benefiting from all sorts of tax breaks given by the federal government as well as the provincial government. And there's lots of room to maneuver with taxes. If times are tough, then why is it that the poor are being asked to contribute more by virtue of the fact that they are not getting any increase and can't keep up with the cost of living and are giving up some benefits that they need so badly, while the well-off are not being asked to sacrifice a thing? And if we increase taxes on the wealthy, then we're going to increase taxes on some of those public sector and private sector workers that people are so upset about. The folks who make incredible amounts of money, 500,000, a million, 2 million, for managing things like Orange and eHealth, which we saw cost our revenues so much money over the last few years. If you want to get at the people who people are really angry at in terms of the amount of money that they pay in both public and private sector, we're talking about managers. We're talking about people who can take a pay freeze in the public sector, for example, those managers, because they'll get a bonus at the end of the year. The government talks a good game about wage freezes and pension benefits and freezing those things for our lowest paid public sector workers. And remember, many of those lowest paid public sector workers are women, and racialized women, and this becomes an attack on those women, and we need to remember that, just as the attacks on welfare are attacks on women, particularly single moms. So the government is focusing their sights on people who have a decent wage, have some job security, and can count on a pension that they are contributing to for their retirement. That's who the government's choosing. They're not attacking managers. They're not attacking overpaid corporate executives. They're not increasing corporate tax rates. They're allowing corporations to do what they've been doing for the last few years, not create jobs, take the government tax breaks and sit on them rather than investing them in our economy. The government's fine with that according to this budget. But what they will do is go after regular working people. What they will do is go after the poor. What they will do is threaten to take away the constitutional right to collectively bargain in this province. And I can tell you, if they move to legislate in a way that curtails people's bargaining rights or imposes wage settlements or collective agreements on unions without making sure, if they move to do that arbitrarily, the Supreme Court will rule that that is unconstitutional. So that is another empty promise on the part of the government that the NDP should not support at all, and that people need to understand is an empty threat. A lot of posturing for nothing. And so they're going to create a lot of labor upheaval. They're going to create a lot of resentment and are doing, and I've heard it on the radio this morning. They're going to create a lot more poverty, a lot more suffering for poor families and kids. And they're not going to get revenues from where they need to get them. Those wealthy individuals who don't care if their salary increases or if they get a pay raise because they'll get a bonus at the end of the year. Those wealthy corporations, big businesses who have seen their tax rates now frozen at I think maybe the lowest rate in Canada, maybe in North America. And we have a budget coming out from the federal government in a couple of days that is just going to deepen and make this stuff worse. So folks, I encourage you to get in touch with your MPP, particularly if that MPP is an NDP member, and let them know that you do not support this budget, you do not support balancing the books in Ontario on the backs of people who have collectively bargained as they have the right to do, or on the backs of the very poor. We need an increase in social assistance rates. We need an increase in our minimum wage. We need a child care system. We need a housing policy in this province. We need protection for the most vulnerable, and we need the rights of people to collectively bargain to be respected. We also need higher taxes on the wealthy, higher taxes on the corporate sector, incentives tied to creation of good paying jobs that are secure. That's what we need in this province. We need some creativity, we need some foresight. And let's make sure we get in touch with our MPPs and with the Premier and Dwight Duncan to let them know that that's what we need. Thanks.